There's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on. Hello, it's Jessie here. As you know, we here at Cancelled are the patron saints of lazy girls. We like not doing anything. And after a year of hard work, we've decided that we're going to take a little break and not record anything for a little while. But we didn't want to leave you high and dry with no Cancelled in your life because we also care about you, our fellow lazy girls. So for the next few weeks, we're going to drop some of our all-time favourite episodes back into your feed. Now, there's some from ages ago that you've probably missed that are still completely relevant because these people are still very cancelled. We thought you would enjoy. We hope they can be a little soundtrack to your own lazy girl summer. Enjoy it. You deserve it. We will be back working not too hard, but slightly more in the new year. Hello and welcome to Cancelled, where we identify something in the culture that's been cancelled and then we do what we are best at, what we have expertise in, what we studied at university, which is judging. We do some judging. My name is Jessie Stevens and I am Claire Stevens, and together we go through a story of a cancellation before delivering our final verdict. When we choose a subject, it doesn't mean that we say they're cancelled. It's that there has been some discussion of their cancellation and we put them on trial and decide. What are we looking at today? Today, we are looking at the patriarchy, or why are men?
Why are men?
But no, that's not it, because this isn't about shitting on men, because they are also hurt by the patriarchy. So that's what we're going to be looking at today.
The Leader of the Opposition says that people who hold sexist views and who are misogynists are not appropriate for high office. Well, I hope the Leader of the Opposition has got a piece of paper and he is writing out his resignation. Because if he wants to know what misogyny looks like in modern Australia, he doesn't need a motion in the House of Representatives, he needs a mirror.
Sociologist Sylvia Warby defines patriarchy as a system of social structures and practices in which men dominate, oppress and exploit women. There are different theories about how it started, but it's widely thought that it's been around for 6,000 odd years, or as long as we have records. In different parts of the world at different times, this idea emerged of women as morally, intellectually and physically inferior to men and as the property of men, as well as the idea that women's primary role was to reproduce and to serve men in the household. So I'm going to put this idea on trial. How did this whole theory go broadly for humanity? That's what I want to know. I'm going to look at human history chronologically, quite a big task, I have to say, once I got into it. Jessie, I need you to be the lawyer for men.
Yes.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
Defend the patriarchy.
Okay.
Starting with Adam and Eve. According to the Jewish, Islamic and Christian religions, Adam and Eve were the first humans and all of us have descended from them. Do I believe this factually? No, probably not. But given it's one of the founding stories of humanity, let's start here. God makes Adam from dust and puts him in the Garden of Eden. Adam is told he can eat from all the trees except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Then solely so Adam won't get lonely, and Eve is created from one of Adam's ribs.
Hey, you must be Eve.
I guess.
Looks like God made you out of my sexiest rib. Bow.
They were innocent until Eve gets chatting to a serpent who convinces her to eat from the forbidden tree. And at this point, I'd like to say two things. One, this sounds like the serpent's fault. Why was the serpent getting in people's ear? If a serpent spoke to me and told me to do something, I'd do it.
You'd do it.
That's terrifying.
Do we know the gender of the serpent?
It's meant to be the devil, so I see it as
feels male.
It does feel
Yeah,
male.
okay. I'll put that down.
Two, I feel like Adam didn't pass on the memo that you weren't meant to eat that fruit.
Interesting.
'Cause that was actually
men aren't
told-
good at communication.
No, because Adam got told it. Eve gets bonded of his rib, and she's like, how was I meant to know? I didn't get told
Yes.
directly. God told you,
Yes.
Adam, and you didn't pass it on. So then I ate the fruit because the serpent told me to.
It created run-on issues.
It did.
For us. Because I think we're meant to be born with original sin.
We
now.
are. And apparently Adam joined her in eating from the naughty tree as though she was this evil, conniving person and he has no free will. And it's like she had a snake threatening her.
I hate snakes.
And if Eve is so subordinate, why didn't Adam just say no to her? Okay, so I have a defense.
Okay.
In that, I think we need to look more closely at Eve. Was she a slut? Probably. So I'll put that into the courtroom. It has been used in other courtrooms.
Okay.
And I'd like to use it here. There is another fact I would like to enter into evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Eve had her tits out. I have seen, I was going to say photographs, they are paintings
Okay.
of the time.
Yep.
They were not developed. They were lost later. We'll get to that. But Eve had her tits out.
Yeah.
So I just feel like Eve's in the wrong.
That's a terrible defense of the patriarchy. God gets mad, so he assigns some punishments to Adam and Eve. The woman gets pain in childbirth and subordination to the man, but like she was already subordinate, so. And the man has to struggle with soil and shit to get food. Whatever.
No, that doesn't feel equal. Okay.
They had lots of kids. And Jessie, how old do you think Adam was when he died?
Ooh, I'm going to say late 30s.
He was 930, which seems like a lie. You know, you read things in the Bible and you go, come on.
You're having a lend.
So basically that's kind of the founding story of humanity, and it starts with the idea that women are kind of silly and give in to temptation, especially when there's a serpent involved.
Okay.
Moving on to the Dark Ages. I remember when we were studying medieval history at uni, and I always thought the Dark Ages meant, it was quite gloomy weather for that period. Maybe some bad stuff happened. No. The Dark Ages refers to a period between the 5th and 14th centuries, so like 900 years, that's defined by a lack of records. It's called the Dark Ages because we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
There's very little surviving information, so it's super unclear what happened. And that's why some of the biggest kind of myths, like King Arthur, is he real or not? No one knows.
Because it's all myth. It's sort of like the period of our lives where we had braces. Notice there's not a single photo.
No.
It's like that.
That was our Dark Ages.
Yeah. There's
exactly.
a purposeful, maybe not purposeful, but there has been a historic removal of records.
And it did make it confusing. So maybe 500 years after that, they'd be like, he's a great king, but he's no Arthur. And they're like, who?
Even know
Who?
what?
You'd never, we didn't have that original document.
And were they trolling? Did Arthur even exist?
Yeah.
What I need to know about the Dark Ages, who lost it? Because if there's one thing we know for sure, it's have a backup.
Yeah.
Right? I've lost uni assignments. I've lost work. You save it twice. You have an external hard drive where you save the ages.
Yeah. There are some theories that things got wiped because of war, because of Christianity being evil and stealing stuff. But as people who have studied medieval history, super boring to study because it's like we found a spoon and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the spoon.
There was a Viking hat.
Okay.
So there
great.
was a Viking.
We don't know anything else about them. But my point about the Dark Ages is this. Had women been able to read and write, there'd be no Dark Ages. Because you'd have historical records of like, fucking Flavia's such a bitch. Okay, that's incredibly sexist. It's incredibly sexist. I'm sure they would have written about a rich history.
It'd be us being like, okay, mum's being a mad bitch today and dad needs to start replying in the group chat.
Yeah.
That would have all gone on the record.
But I'd just like to enter into evidence the Dark Ages as what happens when we leave communication up to men.
Did the women hide it? So, as the lawyer.
Okay.
As a lawyer for men.
Okay.
Men created a lot. I think there'd been bronze or stone or gold.
Okay.
This is a tangent. We have a cousin who is 3 and everyone thinks she's a little bit weird. And what she does is she hides a TV remote from the rest of the family.
Yes.
Right? And the rest of the family panics. What if women did that? The equivalent of hiding the TV remote.
You're saying that women trolled history?
Yes. And I think women took the records, hid them in maybe their vaginas.
Okay.
Who'd look.
Look.
And all information was lost due to women. How do we know that women didn't erase?
Because I think women were busy raising future generations.
Oh, I think they were bored.
They were busy in the household
When women get bored, they get up to trouble.
having 47 children, and men who were meant to be bloody keeping some records, continuing on in history, They forgot they got distracted.
They stumbled around literally blindly, looking at their hands for 900 years. Where did we put them? John gave Arthur the record and he put them under a rock. I don't know where he put them. He put them on the table. Maybe it was Jane. She put them in the bin. You know how Mum does that sometimes? She used to yell at us as kids, put everything away or I'm putting it in the bin. Mum, you threw out my assignment. Oh, well, we go through the rubbish now. Okay? Maybe it was Jane, is all I'm saying.
I'd like to enter into evidence. There is no chance that is what happened. Okay. Moving on. We come out of the Dark Ages and we've got a little-known man named Henry VIII. He was King of England from 1509 until 1547. Jessie, everyone at the time was like, he's hot, he's tall, he's athletic, what a babe. Here's a portrait. I want you to tell me what you think of Henry. What do you see?
I see myself in kindergarten, which is when I had an overbite, tiny little lips, a lopsided haircut, a hat, really, really transparent skin that made people think that woman needs
an infusion of
iron. And also the holding together of hands in a way that can only be described as a Mr. Burns pose.
Okay. So that's this beautiful
who had the women lining up.
Yeah. I think Henry VIII is a great example of men and patriarchy.
Okay.
And what we do when we wreak havoc as a man with the patriarchy behind us. Henry VIII was actually the second son of his father. He had an older brother, Arthur. Arthur marries Catherine of Aragon. Then Arthur gets what they describe as a sweating sickness and he dies. Sweating sickness. That's also what happens when men, it's like, I don't know, he died of like a sweating sickness. It's very vague.
Interrogate that a little more.
So then Henry goes on to marry the woman that his brother was married to. Weird choice. She was much older than him. It was very strange. She had a horrible time. Number of stillborn children, son who died in infancy, then had a daughter. He was cheating on her the whole time, including with her lady in waiting, which I feel like is petty.
It's disrespectful, yeah.
It's the modern day cheating with the secretary.
Or the nanny.
Yeah. He got annoyed that Catherine couldn't give him a male heir. Had she tried? God, she tried. He hadn't done anything, and he fell in love with a woman named Anne Boleyn, who refused to have an affair with him like everyone else. In order to marry her, he needed an annulment from Catherine, so he was like, she was married to my brother, ew. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
You made the decision to marry her.
I remember reading that there was thought to be a curse. Henry thought there was a curse. If you married your brother's widow.
It does say that in the Bible. It's like Leviticus.
Then you are cursed. Yeah. That would be very stressful to think you were cursed. That's my defense.
But also, I would say, why do it in the first place?
He was grieving.
Okay. That's why he separated from the Catholic Church, was because he
made divorce a thing.
And
sounds feminist to me.
No. As for Anne, he liked that she was smart and kind of feisty, but as a wife, that got annoying. He was like, shh, pipe down. And she got pregnant and had a girl, which was upsetting. He's like, all I want is a boy, and they keep giving me these disgusting girl babies.
Yeah, little whingy girl babies.
Without a willy. She was accused of witchcraft, Anne Boleyn was. And Henry's new lady, Jane Seymour, moved in. 5 men, including Anne's brother George, were arrested on charges of adultery, accused of having sexual relations with the Queen.
I'm going to interrupt, because in a courtroom you don't just get to slander Henry.
Okay.
All right?
Because I was going to say it is ironic that all these people got in trouble for adultery when Henry was doing...
Well, may I please, because I am the lawyer for men.
Yeah.
Bitches be crazy. Bitches be crazy. Bitches be crazy. Bitches be crazy.
Okay.
Anne Boleyn's over there sleeping with her brother. That's
okay.
Admit it's not.
On the historical record, there's no evidence that happened. Yeah. And Henry did have a habit of accusing people of things and executing them with no trial.
Bitches be crazy. Argue with that. Argue with it.
The evidence against them was unconvincing, but nonetheless they were executed.
What I hear is that we have a man who loves bitches. He loves them. He loves playing with them. He loves courting them.
He loves marrying them.
He loves marrying them, divorcing them, and so on.
And beheading them.
Didn't he only behead 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Anne was accused of adultery and incest and executed. And Henry's second marriage was annulled because he looked around and he's like, Her head's cut off. How am I meant to be married to her?
Okay.
Sir. You did that. So Henry marries Jane Seymour. She gives him a son.
Oh.
Lovely. She dies in childbirth.
Oh.
But Henry was fine. He was actually quite chill. So he gets sent a portrait of Anne of Cleves. And yes, there are rumours that it was painted in a good light. And so when she arrived, Henry was like, I don't know, you don't look like your pick. So he annulled the marriage.
Imagine. It's early day Tinder.
It is.
When you shop and you're like, okay, there were 11 filters and it was taken from above and it's 5 years old.
He's like, you use that goddamn Snapchat filter.
You use Valentia.
And she's like,
You're pulling a face in a podcast, but she looked guilty. Yeah.
She looked guilty. But that was chill because she actually got heaps of money and property and wasn't murdered. I mean, there are pics. Henry falls in love with Catherine Howard. She has an affair. She gets beheaded. Finally, he marries Catherine Parr until his death. And I have a few thoughts about what this all means. So he's had 6 wives. He's fundamentally changed the religion of his country, empire,
Classic
whatever you bloody call it,
to suit his...
in order to suit the fact that he wanted many wives. I said, sir, don't you have an England to king?
Yes, well put.
I thought you had a country to run. And you seem incredibly busy beheading people and accusing them of witchcraft.
Yes.
And
investigating whether or not they're having sexual relationships with their brothers.
Yeah. So
It's a hard thing to...
I don't think he was kinging very well.
Well, may I just quickly put something on the record as a defence? Because what you haven't acknowledged is that at some point during all of this, Henry fell off his horse during a jousting accident.
Yeah. Oh.
And he was struggling, in pain. Okay? So sometimes what you do is you say he wasn't himself because of the jousting.
Yeah.
I think maybe he got a head injury. I have written down, have some sympathy.
He did end up later in life with boils all over his body and he just oozed pus.
Maybe that's why he settled with Kathy. The last one.
Yeah. No, I think he was fine with the last one.
No, but I think it was because of the boils.
Yeah.
Like he knew that, he wasn't getting another Anne.
Yeah. He's like, love me.
Yeah.
I'm oozing. Can you tend to my boils?
There ain't no good light.
No.
That makes this look better.
But I think Henry's just a great example of a man having the audacity. The audacity when it comes to how we treat women, how we run a country, how we change fundamental religious structures. And he also passed the Witchcraft Act of 1542, which was the first to define witchcraft as a felony, which brings me to my next point, witch hunts.
Okay.
Or burning bitches on fire.
Are you sure that's a real spell? Well, it's not very good, is it?
The weird thing here is that there were witch hunts all over the world in places that don't appear to be connected to each other. It's like they happened to come up with the same creative idea. In Europe, 80% of those persecuted for witchcraft were women. But here's Henry's act, and I really like it. It's, people in like that age of England, they couldn't really write very well.
No.
Henry's act said it was forbidden to practice any invocations or conjurations of spirits, witchcrafts, enchantments, or sorceries, to find money or treasure, or to waste, consume, or destroy any person in his body, or to provoke any person to unlawful love, or to dig up or pull down any cross or crosses, or by such conjurations of spirits, witchcrafts, enchantments, or sorceries. This is my favourite. Or any of them take upon them to tell or declare where goods stolen or lost shall become.
You've lost me. You've lost me, Henry.
Darling Henry, we're doing a witchcraft law and it doesn't make any sense, mate.
We've got... It's really hard to put them on trial.
Mate.
Because whence they
did take it upon them to declare.
to declare.
They also digged up or pulled down cross. So he's created this
a law difficult to interpret.
Yeah.
Which brings me to, have you seen the film Witches?
Obviously.
Witches of England, your disgrace. Miserable witches. You're good-for-nothing worms!
Did you find that film utterly terrifying?
The most terrifying. You remember the painting and the person's not in the painting anymore? That sickens me.
Sickens me.
Yeah.
We watched it as children. I didn't sleep for a week.
No.
Because I was looking out the window going, there's going to be a witch.
Yeah.
And then something dawned on me at the age of about 9.
What?
They got them all.
What?
During the witch hunts.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered where all the witches went?
All right.
They got them.
Because my argument is this, Jess.
What?
So that's your legal argument.
Yes, that the witches were scary.
Yeah.
They got them. They got about 40 to 60,000. If they didn't get all of them, they got most. There might be a few on the fringes. I've never come across one. This is what I would like to ask you, the defendant. Have you ever met a witch?
Well, this is what I'm going to say. I think we're the witches. I 100% think we would have been witches.
No.
It was like the evil aspects of femininity, which was us.
No, it was spells and digging up crosses and shit. When was the last time you went and dug up a cross for no reason?
How about that night? I woke up in the middle of the night having a night terror or something, and I picked up the cross on the wall and was banging it against the wall in the middle of the night. I think that I would have been done for witchcraft.
Shit. Okay.
Jessie, I'm going to briefly talk about the Salem witch trials and try to prove to you that we're the witches.
Witches stress me out. Continue.
In 1692, Reverend Samuel Parris's daughter Elizabeth, who was 9, and his niece Abigail, who was 11, started having fits. They were described as violent contortions and uncontrollable outbursts of screaming, which to me sounds a lot like a tantrum. At 9, I was having that. I was just screaming. A local doctor diagnosed them with bewitchment. And sir, speaking of people you cancel along the way, what a chaotic move.
Did they ask her if she, I don't know, was in pain?
Yeah.
Maybe she had a sore foot or something.
I know. I want to go to the doctor and be diagnosed with bewitchment. Soon after, other young girls in the village started exhibiting similar behaviours. The girls accused 3 women for causing their fits. And you might say, where's the patriarchy here?
Yeah.
It's women accusing women of making them cray. My question is, they were 9 and 11. Why did anybody listen to them and kill people because of what they said? If a 9-year-old said,
That lady over there.
that lady over there's a witch, you don't go, oh, we'll have to burn
Let's
her.
get
at
him.
the stake.
Let's get him.
One of those women was an Indigenous Caribbean woman who was a slave in the Paris household, and she confessed under pressure. She also confessed to riding on sticks with the children, which caused chaos again, because it really went into the whole witch idea.
Again, it'd scare you.
Ultimately, the first woman hanged was Bridget Bishop, who had been married 3 times, dressed exotically, drank at taverns, and was caught fighting publicly with her husbands. Another woman who was executed, Sarah Good, was accused of pinching children. Which I'm like, it's a little bit funny. I bet she was pinching little babies' thighs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're cute. She was accused of using witchcraft to sicken or kill livestock. I don't think witchcraft kills them. And this is a vibe, appearing at night naked and covered in blood. I feel like she had a period and she had really bad period pain and she just came out on the street and
It's clotting.
it's clotting. Look at it. Anyway, she was hung.
Okay.
Hanged.
Yes, but what you're forgetting here in the defence of men is that it was also hard for men in that they had to hunt the witches, which would have been a full-time job because it sounds like a lot of women were acting witchy and they had to determine real witches as opposed to fake witches when crazy little girls were running around telling lies.
I guess the lying didn't help, but there were no witches turned out.
That has not been confirmed.
It just definitely has. Moving on. Speaking of women who would have been witches, the vote. I have a note here. Okay, but why couldn't we vote? That's a great question, Claire.
Excuse me, it's me, the defence of men. There's a few reasons. Firstly, why couldn't you read? If you'd been able to read, maybe we'd let you vote. So let's get that happening. Let's get some reading happening, okay? The second thing is that ever since you got given the right to vote, you keep asking for things,
Okay.
which is annoying,
Yeah.
okay?
It wasn't like we got the right to vote and then we shut up.
No. In fact, it was the opposite. And men, because they're very smart, knew that was going to happen. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile or whatever is the saying. And that's what they did.
You give them the vote, they'll ask for equal pay.
Exactly.
What the hell are we going to do
and it
then?
never stops.
Yep.
And now in Australia, don't kill us. Well, if we hadn't given you the vote, maybe you'd still be yelling about that. But you're not. You're in Parliament going, I don't want to be sexually assaulted. Well, there's another job for us. And we are busy, busy bees.
Going back in time, literally in 1792, Mary Wollstonecraft was like, lol, can we vote 'cause legit? And everyone was like, nah. In Great Britain, ironically, Queen Victoria was preventing women from being able to vote. And I'm like, lady, you seem to vote.
Bitches we cancel along the way.
If you don't have a vote, you make a lot of big decisions.
Yeah.
It wasn't until World War I when women were significantly helping the war effort that people were like, ugh, fine, you can vote, but only if you're over 30, which was arbitrary and strange.
Because there's also a worry. If you let women vote, I mean, are they going to bleed in the booth?
Yeah.
And, you know, the booth is shared by a lot of people. Are we going to have to clean up? Again, speaking of blood clots. Oh, there's a blood clot on the pen.
Always.
And now George has to go and cast his vote.
Yeah.
It's unhygienic.
Now he has an infection.
Exactly, of the hand. And he didn't want to touch a blood clot. Because women, what do? They ask for things, they bleed everywhere.
Well, we don't have to hypothesize about this, Jessie, because according to House of Commons records, these were the reasons women couldn't vote. So these are direct quotes from men in British Parliament about why, seriously, women couldn't vote. Sir James Grant. We are controlled and worried enough by women at the present time, and I've heard no reason why we should alter the present state of affairs. Okay.
Great point.
Pretty basic. Roland Hunt. There are obvious disadvantages about having women in Parliament. I do not know what is going to be done about their hats. How is a poor little man to get on with a couple of women wearing enormous hats in front of him?
They are really distracting.
He was like, somebody think of the hats.
He was really caught up on the hats.
The weird thing is, it's like they can take them off, but no. Sir Charles Hobhouse. You have at the present moment certain statistics which show that both the birth and marriage rate are decreasing. Can you adopt at this time a policy which might mean an immense destruction of the population of the country? People are going to stop having families.
Well, every moment you're in the booth,
you're not having a baby.
You're not sitting there ovulating on the couch, are you? So that Roland can come and stick it in.
Yeah.
It's an interruption to the cycle.
It is. Sir John Rees said that women are tremendously accessible, extraordinarily impressionable, and noted for the adoption of any new thing and for the easy acceptance of other people's views.
Clinton, Madam, President, She King. I can't afford to volunteer here full-time, but I still want to get the word out. So I vow to tweet once a week, vote for Hillary, yas, yas, yas.
That would be great.
Basically, they don't critically think, they just believe anything you tell them, unlike men who make very reasonable decisions.
Such as World War I.
Yeah.
And on a similar note, World War II.
And on a similar note, probably
Ukraine.
World War III.
Yes.
That brings us to today. In the modern moment, some would argue that men broadly need to be cancelled because they're wreaking havoc. 1 in 3 women have experienced physical or sexual violence at some point in their lifetime, the vast majority at the hands of men. In Australia, on average, 1 woman a week is murdered by her current or former partner. 2/3 of illiterate adults are women. In most countries, women only earn between 60 and 75% of men's wages for the same work. In 2015, and it hasn't changed much since then, there were only 21 female heads of state in the entire world. And I want to submit an NPR article from 2014 into evidence. The headline is, Are Men Idiots Who Do Stupid Things? Study says yes. This isn't me saying it. This is a scientific study. And we respect science on this podcast. Basically, it looked at past winners of the Darwin Awards, which are those awards that are given to people who die in such an idiotic manner that their actions ensures the long-term survival of the species by selectively allowing one less idiot to survive.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
For example, there was a man named Wayne in 1997.
I feel like in that Darwin Awards, I feel like every second year it's Wayne.
I know. Wayne.
Maybe there's a Bruce.
Wayne's at his friend Roger's house. Roger had a pet cobra. Speaking of people you cancel along the way, don't have a pet cobra. It's highly venomous. Anyway, Wayne wanted a hold. So he
wanted the nurse. Can I have a nurse of your cobra? Probably not. It does a little bite.
That's something women
Well,
wouldn't do.
I'm going to pick it up by the head. Men do this.
They do. Dad does this. He picks up lizards and I'm like, you don't know that that's not a snake.
I picked up a snake recently and just thought he knew how to handle it. He'd seen a YouTube
would
video.
you think
It's
that?
like, honestly,
So he put his hands in the tank, picked it up. Weirdest thing happens. The cobra bites him. Wayne says to Roger, I don't need to go to hospital. I'm a man. I can handle it. Wayne wanted a beer because his hand hurt. So they went to the pub. Wayne boasted about his cobra bite. An hour later, he died. That's fun.
okay.
There was also a terrorist who mailed a letter bomb, but he didn't post it correctly, so it was returned to him, at which point he opened it and he got letter bombed. I'm just going to add a few extra things into evidence to kind of enter the vibe, the current vibe, into the courtroom. Men can be annoying in that they have shit hobbies such as golf, but also video games.
Yes.
They speak too loudly with AirPods in. They call people by their last name, which annoys me, and I don't know why, but women don't do it.
I hate it.
Imagine if I was like, hey, Stevens. Ew. Our producer has the ick.
Steve-O. Shut up. Hate the name Stevens.
They make terrible movies, including but not limited to Click, but also Jack and Jill.
In every family, there's one person who drives you a little crazy.
I gotta pick Jill up at 4 a.m.
During the holidays,
Jack, no fighting this year.
there's no escaping it when it's your sister,
How we doing?
your twin sister.
Are you going bald? Huh?
Some men don't wipe their bums because they think it's gay. And this is a rabbit hole I fell down last year that I still think about most days.
How is wiping your bum gay?
Because I don't want to touch the butthole.
Okay, you shouldn't be touching your butthole. If you
They're
are doing
worried
it right,
the paper will rip. So
then
they don't wipe
fold
it.
or scrunch more paper.
Jessie, do you have any other things you just like to get off your chest about men?
The opposite.
Oh.
Because this is the thing. Oh, men. They're so bad. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been into a female bathroom?
Yeah. They can get pretty feral.
They are hell on earth.
No, Megan. No! Look away! Oh! It's coming out of me like lava!
I would like to point out, in women's defence, periods can mess with your bowels.
No. Tell me why there's feces on the roof. You tell me why there's feces on the roof. Tell me why there's
She's a
feces on a
witch.
tampon
She's
on
a
the
witch.
roof. In Ali Wong's most recent stand-up special, she has a whole bit about toilets and what happens in there.
It's always an emergency when a woman finally takes a shit. And that's why every women's public restroom looks like a post-apocalyptic zombie nightmare where there's blood on the walls and pizza on the record player.
Because there is always, it can only be described as a scene.
Yeah.
You walk in, you're minding your own business. How is there a pooey pad on the door?
I think that's gender neutral. I think that happens in
No,
both bathrooms.
I don't think so. I think that women, that all their rage at the patriarchy comes out in female bathroom stalls. Do you remember at school we would sit down on this toilet and there was a pole next to it, and between the pole and the wall people just shoved their sanitary items. There's a bin. There's a bin right on your other side. It's like, fuck the patriarchy. I'm going to screw over the next woman
Who sits on this toilet?
I'm going to stick this
Dirty pad.
this dirty pad on the toilet seat.
Sucked in because you just admitted the patriarchy was real and I have won the case. La-di-da.
No.
Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences.
I, Jessie Stevens, have been defending men. But that doesn't mean I don't see them guilty of one single charge.
Okay.
Do you know the TikTok that goes,
Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
men are the drama?
Men are always the drama. Putin is just the best example of being the drama.
the drama.
And the main character energy.
Yes. So the charge is being the drama. Okay. Men have done some naughty things. Even I can admit that. Bitches may be crazy, but Henry shouldn't have beheaded more than one woman.
No.
That's too many.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Also, it was shit when men lost everything during the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Like, have a backup. You need to not lose the progress of human civilization because it was a real setback for all of us.
For 900 years.
Yes.
And it made things confusing.
It did. They had to go and make the advancements again. The sentence. Do we need another witchy moment? Here's what I mean by that. As previously discussed, we did a really good job of getting rid of the witches.
Okay.
And we did that successfully. That's why there are very few witches left. A triumph. Some would say one of the greatest triumphs of human civilization. Which brings me to warlocks. I'm so glad you asked. Warlocks, male equivalent to witches. Also real. Now, I think we need to get rid of a few warlocks. Through some trials. Where they don't get to defend themselves. And witnesses are just us.
Okay.
And we do things that were done during the witch trials.
Is Putin a warlock?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a warlock. And so what you do is you throw them into the water. You know how they would throw them into like a lake and be like, if you drown, you weren't a warlock. Yeah. If you float, you are a warlock. Boom, we're going to hang you.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Putin, classic warlock.
Iconic warlocks?
Putin.
Donald Trump.
Trump. Violent offenders.
Okay. I think Joe Rogan has warlock energy.
He has warlock energy. A trial is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He might drown and not float.
Okay.
We don't know. But there are many men that have warlock energy. That is my sentence.
Great. I have one charge and a multi-pronged sentence. My charge is this. I charge men with the audacity.
Oh, well,
okay?
having it
always, the audacity to have been the beneficiaries of such a structure for all of human history and never find a problem with it.
You know what the greatest moment of audacity came from? When they lost human civilization for 900 years and then started killing women.
Okay, it's like they lost history and then they're like, we're back.
Patriarchy's still here.
Oh, bitches be crazy. No, you know what? They probably already did the witch hunts in the Dark Ages.
3 times.
Forgot they did it and then redid it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly confusing and difficult for women. I'd like to extend that not just to history, but the audacity of men today. There's a lot of audacity. The audacity of a man to walk down the street and tell me to smile. Oh, sir, I shan't be doing that.
I shan't be doing that for you.
No. The audacity of men to generally often be dicks. Not nice.
To go ghosting you. Is it kinder than beheading? Yes, it's still not kind.
It's still not kind. One sentence. I want them to locate the Dark Ages. I'm assigning a task force. And
Is it all men?
Maybe the warlocks.
Okay.
And their job is going to be
find the Dark Ages.
Locate it.
Don't stop looking.
It's
Don't
going to
stop.
be hard. Have less audacity would be my advice to any men listening. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Cancelled. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review. We would love that, and share it. Share where you're listening. Are you listening from a witch trial? Are you listening from a voting booth? Great. Tag us. We love that. And go to the twins_thoughts on Instagram because we always put up the evidence and we will put that picture of Henry VIII.
Let's do a hot or not poll.
Yeah.
Hot or not. And Catherine of Greaves or whatever her name was.
Anne of Cleves. Jesus, Jesse. Catherine of Greaves. We'll put up a picture of Catherine of Greaves.
She'd have been ugly too. Okay. This podcast was produced by Rose Kerr, and we will chat to you next week.
Woohoo. Bye. Celebrate women. Come on down on it.